All right. So this is the independent validation of the CPR for cervical radiculopathy. Notice it has with radicular pain, so that means that it's not just signs, that they are having symptoms as well. First thing I thought was kind of interesting to note is if you look at where the researchers are from or where they're affiliated with, none of them are in Brazil, but this is in the Brazilian Journal of Physical Therapy. All right, so to start off, this is jumping around on me. That'll be easier. So this is the external validation. I have that highlighted there. The first one was done in 2003. Took 23 years for anybody to really attempt to externally validate it. I don't know of any other attempts of it that failed. Maybe somebody started and never went through with it. To do something like this does take a decent amount of work. But yeah, normally the validations happen a little bit sooner, but this was 23 years later. The first one was the one that I learned when I was in school and a resident. It should be noted that no interventions occurred between the index tests, so all of them were similar baseline. It's not like they did a test and then they did some treatment and then they redid a test. They were all done in the beginning. And they were done by I think it was the same person, and it was all on the same day. All the same tests that were done back in 2023. And there's 27 people with cervical radiculopathy. They had a lot more than that. It was 58 people in the group that didn't have cervical radiculopathy, so they could make sure that they had true negatives. So as we look at, you can see the 12 tests here in Table 2. I'd like to go over a few of these, particularly Sperling's. Notice they have Sperling's neck and Sperling's arm. The column that I have, the one highlight there, is the positive likelihood ratio. So you can see if their arm hurts with Sperling, so if you're pushing on their neck, when you're pushing, that compression, the end of their supplementary material, they have the details of each of these. I'm not going to go over all that here. But if they feel it in their arm by building compression on their neck, that's a really good test. You probably are not going to do all the tests if you're finding that. I mean, that is, the point estimate for likelihood ratio is 34, and the top end of it is 245, almost 246. And so it's a really good test. And that would make sense, right? If you turn somebody's head toward that side that they're having pain, you push down on it and they feel it down their arm, it's a really good sign that there's something going on with their neck that's causing their arm. Cervical radiculopathy with radicular pain is very high. Now, if you push on their neck and their neck hurts, it's only 1.7 chance of that, and so a lot lower. You can see the rest of them are, on the lower end there as well. That Sperling's arm is really a big one. None of the other, I would have thought cervical distraction would have been a little bit higher. As I was looking at the methods, it wasn't clear that it had to make that their arm or their paresthesias in their arm actually improve. It could just make their neck improve, and if most people like traction to their neck, and so I think that's why that one wasn't more, but I'm not sure. Shoulder abduction test is also up there. It's at 2, which is higher than a lot of the other ones. You can see with the upper limb nerve tension test, 1 is median nerve, 2A is another type of median nerve test, 2B is radial nerve, and 3 is the ulnar nerve. And so down here at the bottom of the screen, we can see the original ones, and it's actually cervical distraction and cervical range of motion was taken out of that, and they added in that we could have more upper limb nerve tension tests. Oh, I'm just jumping around there. All right, so let's look at this one. What we see is that, so I'm going to see if I move my face here. Very good. So if they look at the 3 tests, shoulder abduction, Sperling's, the one that makes the arm symptoms occur, and 2 of the 4 upper limb nerve tension tests need to be positive. Those are the 3. If they just have one of those, it goes to 1.75. Now, probably nobody's one was that Sperling's arm, because that was way higher on that. But it would be a very odd thing to have that Sperling's arm and then not have like an upper limb nerve tension test be positive, or the shoulder abduction. If you look at 2 of these positive, so if they're going to have, because Sperling's arm, let's look at that one. I don't remember if it said how many people had it total in here. But not everybody's going to have that specific finding. So if they just feel better with the shoulder abduction test, upper limb nerve, or they have positive upper limb nerve tension tests, you could have 2 of those. 7.06, so just over 7. It's actually pretty good. If they have all 3 of those, it's a home run. They put the positive likelihood ratio as infinity. It's really good. You're probably not even doing all those. I know if I get like a Sperling's, or if I do any type of neck motion and it goes down their arm, I typically am not doing an upper limb nerve tension test, because it's already pretty obvious. Shoulder abduction, that's a good test, but it's not quite as clear. If they have that plus the upper limb nerve tension test, it's a little bit clearer, as it shows there. But if you have all 3 of those, it's a home run. A lot of these things are not something that all clinicians are going to be doing every time, but it's good to know, hey, there's a good reason why we're doing these tests. And that is the end of the article. You can see, if I move my face here, if you look at the article, you can see the supplementary materials where you can go find those, and you can see how they did all of those tests. And that concludes our summary.